Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the June edition of the Structural Development Macroeconomics Research Group Seminar Series. Today, we are very happy to have two guests joining us from the National Universidad Nacional de México, ¿no? La UNAM, Mónica Meireles and Marcos González. Thank you very much for joining us. Today they will be talking about a very relevant and new topic, new currency controversies, cryptocurrencies, digital currencies, and how the central banks, how the monetary authority enters this big picture. So Professor Marcos, Professor Monica, thank you again for accepting our invitation, and in particular Julia's invitation, because she's responsible for making this happen. We thank also the members of the group that are joining our conversation today. We have Jesus Ferreiro, Professor Oreiro is also joining us. Monica and Marcos, the floor is yours, and we're looking forward to your talk.
Thank you very much, Marvil. Thank you, Julia, for the invitation. And I'm so glad to be with you today to share our work, the work that we write together, Marcos and I. We were working these topics through the PhD thesis from Marcos that he is going to defend this thesis next Tuesday. So it's a very special moment for us because it's a sharing presentation, but also the last one as advisor and student. So I'm very excited about this and making this transition to colleagues, to formal colleagues now. So this is a little bit about us. I'm a researcher at the Institute of Economic Research at the University Autonomous of Mexico, as Marvil has said, and we are very glad to be here with you guys today. The Structural Development Macroeconomics Research Group is a studying group that we are following your events, your academics events, and also the YouTube sessions from this seminar. So we are really glad to share this work with you. As Marvil has said before, the paper has been already published by the International Journal of Political Economy. The paper is an extended and corrected version of original one published before in Spanish, and we have corrected a lot of the paper, the original paper, after the referees and the suggestions and corrections of the referees from the International Journal of Political Economy, and also from the dialogue, the intense dialogue with Mario Secarecha and Wesley Marshall, the two editors of the journal. So this is a little bit the trajectory of the paper, of the research. So the paper, the title is New Currency Controversies, Private Cryptocurrencies and Digital Currencies Issued by Central Banks. And our main motivation here was to somehow review, adapt, and actualize the monetary debates on heterodox approaches, but now considering the digital environment, the digital area in the means of payments. So this is more or less the main motivation here, and to study the basic difference between cryptocurrencies issued by the private sector and the CBDCs, the cryptocurrencies issued by central banks, but considering theoretical implications of these two kinds of cryptocurrencies. So let me Let me formally start. So, with the advent of the digital technology revolution applied to payment systems, private cryptocurrencies resulting from the mining of large blocks of data have emerged on the one hand, and central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, on the other, whose implementations, instrumentations, and circulation originate from the action of the central bank of a country that already issued its sovereign national currency. Both events have a significant impact on the monetary financial ecosystem in terms of the phenomena related to its functioning, on the new challenges of supervision and regulation that they require, and on the economic reflection regarding the nature of money. Thus, this article aims to reflect on the new monetary controversies that have emerged in heterodox economic thought following the emergence of private cryptocurrencies and CBDCs. In this respect, even when we lived in a predominantly analog world before the appearance of digital currencies, the existence of a first significant cleavage relating to economic thought on money was evident. One interpretation, based on a more orthodox reading, conceived of money as neutral, akin as a veil that provides protection without interference, floating over the key variables of the function of the real economy. On the other hand, we had the heterodox interpretation, in which money is understood as an endogenous element of the system, that is, a fundamental device in the behavior of mechanisms essential to production decisions such as levels of investment and final demand. This is essential in order to understand capitalism as a monetary mode of production. Today, with the increasing normalization of virtuality and the rapid expansion of the use of private cryptocurrencies and CBDCs, it would not be an exaggeration to suggest that capitalism is increasingly moving toward a digital monetary system of production, requiring a new analytical effort, obviously rooted in the classical debates, to better understand the relations between the monetary spheres and the real economy. Normally, the readings of the orthodox concept of money from a fiscal perspective indicate that money's primary function is to facilitate transaction. In contrast, more heterodox interpretations of the nature of money emphasize at least two main aspects. A, the support given by the state, both in the capacity to write the dictionary, this is a expression of Keynes himself, and in terms of defining what will be accepted as means of settling debts within a given national boundary, as well as its monopoly over taxation, and B, its forming it in its form of purchasing power, with its real potentiality being found in the capacity of credit creation by private commercial banks, which create money out of nothing, another expression of Keynes, by granting loans to the clients. A closer examination of the relationship between the state and money reveals that the former possesses certain very specific powers in relation to the issue of its own currency. These powers are designed to ensure the state, quite rightly, cannot default on promissory notes denominated in its own currency, which it issues in a monopolistic and sovereign manner. This is precisely the money. This is precisely the money that, from the perspective of hierarchy of money, in its form of high-powered money, fools private banks at source without implying their capacity to lend in contingents upon the government securities held in their accounting assets. Therefore, from this point onwards, it is understood that endogenous money is the predominant form of money as the money supply expands in order to satisfy the demand for credit by private commercial banks' clients. And it's impossible for the central bank to have any direct or discretionary control over the money supply. By incorporating the digital dimension of cryptos into this debate, the phenomenon of money creation, both by the state and by private financial actors, lead us to speak of a new generation of virtual tokens that have an impact on the balance sheets of participants in both spheres. On one hand, the issuance of CBDCs, whose implementation and circulation are safeguarded by the monetary powers of the national states, could lead to an expansion of volumes managed on the central bank's balance sheets. In this might represent an initial step toward what could potentially become the infrastructure of a nascent digital currency ecosystem. On the other hand, cryptocurrencies created privately and or from actions of organized civil societies, which are based on the mining of large blocks of data, volumes validated among peers, significantly increase the accounting assets of these new financial actors, given the notorious increase in the amounts of credit money already circulating among their users. To better organize the reflection on these issues brought about the technological innovation of the increasing digitalization of monetary financial relations, we have divided this paper into three parts. In the first section, we presented a discussion within heterodox monetary thoughts regarding the nature of money. We compare the credit money interpretation in which the creation of money by private commercial banks predominates, and chartalism, which emphasizes the fiscal monopoly of state in explaining what we understand by money. In the second part, we provide a brief critical account of the recent history of the leading private cryptocurrencies and CBDCs experiences. In the third part, we conclude by discussing the new monetary controversies themselves. In particular, we reflect on the nature of financial assets held by some private cryptocurrencies and the whole of the infrastructure that the CBDCs may come to occupy in the asymmetric scaffolding of the international monetary financial systems. So I'm not keeping going on reading parts of our paper, but I would like to highlight that in the first part of the after this brief introduction, in the first part named Classic Monetary Controversy, State Money and Credit Money, what we do here in this first part, Marcos, if you could go to the next one, please. And the previous one, sorry, is yes, this. In this part, what we are doing here is to review and analyze a little bit the two perspectives on the heterodox approach on the nature of money. The first one is much more related to the capacity of money creation by private commercial banks. And the other one is the much more closer to the chartalism perspective, that the state has the power to determine in which currency they are going to collect their taxes. So this is the chartalism view in what is money, in what we are considering money. And this is a discussion that is very, very rich and very debatable inside the heterodox perspective itself. And what we are doing is reviewing the modern money theory arguments on both directions for private creation of money and the monopoly of state in collecting taxes, and trying to merge both perspectives in the core of the modern money theory reflections, and after that we we start to put in the in this reflection the digital aspect of means of payments and financial assets. And in the final part of this theoretical first block of our paper, we discussed that the cryptocurrencies, the private cryptocurrencies, are much more resemble much more a discussion on accumulation of financial assets than being used as a money thing, no, or a currency itself. So, so and this is substantially different from the CBDC theoretical discussion that could be seen as this main digital infrastructure to redesign money relations in a digital era. No, so this is more or less the first part of our paper, and now I'm going to pass the word to give the floor to Marcus to the second and third part of our work. Marcus, if you could please assume from here.
Thank you so much, Monica. Well, I thank you. First of all, my thank you very much to MD Seminar for the invitation to participate here in this great event and to participate in this lecture. My acknowledgement and gratitude to Dr. Monica Meireles, especially for the invitation to collaborate in the preparation of this article. Dr. Monica is, besides, my PhD advisor, so I'm very grateful with her for this goal period in my life, with her accompaniment and support for my research. So let's get down to brass tacks. My part of this lecture talks about the cryptocurrencies, private cryptocurrencies. It's a marvelous world that you could in sometimes hear a little more or less. Then I have to talk about this world, fascinating world. There was once upon a time, a global crisis, financial crisis called financial global crisis, originated in United States in 2008, when the great financial banks like Bear Stearns, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae explode, yes, with the great crisis. In that time, we know that a peculiar man called Satoshi Nakamoto, who today has never been seen by anyone. And this person published a document accompanying the launch with technical aspect of a then unknown cryptocurrency called maybe Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was a creature, a new creature, digital creature, who was published in a paper, white paper, digitally published. And then Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency conceived as a special form. Bitcoin has a no central bank which issue currency. Instead of that, the new Bitcoin are created as incentive for the miners. Do you know what is miners? Miner is a netizens around the world, yes, who create blocks, digitally blocks of currency. Then these miners ensure the platform through the process called proof of work. Yes, the design conceived by Satoshi Nakamoto established a strict limit and besides asymptotic process. Never will exist more than 21 million bitcoins could created. Yes, the halving ensures this process halving. Let me explain you what is halvings. Halvings reduce to the half. That means, and it's automatic process and programmed, by the way, event under the Bitcoin code orders that every time that is mined approximately 210,000 blocks, approximately every 4 years, the reward denominated in Bitcoin that the miners receive for verifying the transaction is shrinked exactly to the half. Yes, that means that the first block called Genesis in 2009 was valuated on 50 bitcoins. Then the first halving, the reward was in 25 bitcoins. That happens approximately in 2012. The second halving, the reward was for 12.5 bitcoins. That happened on 2016. The third halving happened in 2020, and the reward was for 6.25 Bitcoin. You could see that every 4 years, the reward is shrinking approximately to the half. No, not approximately, exactly to the half. The fourth halving, the reward was on 3.12 bitcoins. That happened in 2024. And the fifth halving will take place on 2028 when the reward will be exactly on 1.56 bitcoins. Yes, and then you could see what is halving. Halving ensures that the issuance be totally predictable and decreasing on time. And this way, by the year 2140, the total bitcoins will be issued and the inflation will be controlled. No fiat money will be created, and this ensures that the total fighting inflation is ensured. Well, I was telling you this story, this passionate story. In September 2008, a confidential document titled Bitcoin Peer-to-Peer e-cash paper was released by this peculiar person, Satoshi Nakamoto. So This document was signed by an individual who referred to himself as Satoshi Nakamoto. In this document, Bitcoin was presented as a significant departure from the traditional concept of money, which would allow payments to be transferred directly from one party to another without the involvement of financial institutions, free central banks. Yes. Well, consequently, Bitcoin would be an electronic currency. Now, in these days, is called digital currency, where each owners transfer it to the next by digitally signing a hash or algorithm, better said, of the previous transaction. In this way, the Bitcoin's owners, I repeat, the Bitcoin owner are person net citizens, probably big shots, not common people. Owners are big shots. Would can generate a public key for the subsequent owner and append it to the end of the electronic currency. Then, in January 2009, the Bitcoin network went live with the mining of the block famously known as Genesis. Genesis was the origin, and I repeat the information, the early era, the Genesis block, the reward for the mining block was 50 Bitcoin. Imagine, please, if you were in October 2025, the Bitcoins achieved the value of $122,000. Imagine how many money would you could reach of world. Then the Genesis block emerges, allow the first group of transaction effectively carried out to start a change, marking the original Bitcoin price at $0. This original block contained a text note that read, "Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks," an explicit reference to a London Times article on 2008-2009 financial crisis when commercial banks were bailed out with trillions of dollars by central banks and governments. Well, let's pass to the charts here in our screens. We can see the Bitcoin price between 2018 and 2023. Actually, the highest value was achieved in 2025, but obvious reasons we can't present to you in these charts because the article was written on 2023. But well, let's cut to the chase. This figure one, we observe the upward evolution of the dollar price of Bitcoin between these 2 years. Since it was in 2013 that it experienced the turning point until it rose to its maximum level during the COVID-19 pandemic, when it was quoted at more than $60,000 per unit in September 2021. It reached its maximum historical value when it was quoted at $61,000. In this slide, we can see this largest capitalized cryptocurrencies at the year 2023. So, to give us a sense of the size of the cryptocurrency universe, in this figure, we list the 10 cryptocurrencies with the highest capitalization for 2023. This index is obtained based on the price in dollars, in dollars, multiplied by the number of units already mined. Yes, mined is the proof of work every time that a new halving is approximating to us. So, as we can see, the Bitcoin is the coin with the highest capitalization value, approaching $1 trillion, followed by Ethereum with $274 billion and Tether, which totals about $96 billion. In addition to being a market extremely concentrated in the leading cryptocurrency, we must say that in June 2023, there were about 10,049 cryptocurrency registered. They vary both in degree of accessibility, and in this way, the DLT platform, this DLT means decentralized ledger technology. These DLT modalities used with blockchain being the most popular in risk management practices by its creators. This chart, this figure number 5, is explain the main CBDCs. CBDCs is a cryptocurrency issued by central banks. So, alike to the cryptocurrencies, private cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Tether, Ethereum, etc., this figure shows the degree of progress in the creation of CBDCs. Yes, in some selected countries, in light of the status of their initiatives in 2023, subdividing their performance by a stage reached. For example, with the Blackbird, we represented the status circulation with the Blackbird. With the gray bars, we represented the status pilot, and the white bars represent the status of research. The case of China is a case very special one. It stands out whose launch of the digital renminbi and demonstrates its leaderships at global level in this field, but whose early debut has also been accompanied by a series of new challenges. Digital renminbi is circulating around the extensive geography of China by digital means of payments through mobile cell phones exclusively. And the foreigners, of course, could enjoy these great means of payments. Naturally, the Chinese citizens use these means of payments in its daily life. Conclusion of our lecture, New Monetary Controversies in the Digital Age. So in the last few years, we have traveled through a historical arc that has ranged from a true crypto frenzy with the birth and multiplication of countless cryptocurrency, coupled with an equally important emergence of other goods and financial services linked to them, to a current scenario that question them in a more critical, incisive, and even suspicious way. A recent series of crises, crashes, and chaos, bankruptcies, and fraud scandals have contributed to this change in our view of the universe. That brings to the fore the euphoria of the possibility of spectacular profits, spectacular gains. However, it is also a stark warning that is a new generation of highly speculative and volatile financial instruments that, instead of offering a safe place as a store of value, are proving to be yet another source of financial fragility that threatens the stability of the entire systems. Finally, as you can see, we can currently find ourselves at several intellectual junctions emanating from the increasing digitalization of payment systems and, of course, our households, the digitalization of our households, and the emergence of new forms of money. This is the quick response code. If you want to link to our article, you can take screenshots if you want. And this is all for my part. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcos. Thank you, Monica, for, again, a very interesting, a great presentation of a very interesting paper that is covering a critical topic that involves all of us. So I think we can open the floor for questions for our Q&A. Our friends are participating. Julia, I saw Professor Oreiro, Professor Jesus Ferreiro. Do you guys have any questions? I have some questions of my own, but I would like the members of the group that are following us, maybe if they have questions, to go first, and I will eventually jump in with with questions of my own. Julia, Jesus, no? Well, if not Julia, you wait. I will jump with one question and then you go. Oh, you're muted. I cannot hear you. Yes, I don't hear you. No. You're not muted, but we cannot hear you. No. If you want to disconnect and reconnect your microphone or get out the live and enter back on the live, and in the meantime, I will ask a couple of questions to Marcos and Monica. I actually have, I would say that I have two main questions, but I would like to start with one. That is the following. I would say that, I mean, at least from my point of view, I grew up as an economist in Brazil, and been working with structuralist post-Keynesian tradition for some time now, and from my point of view, the balance of payments constrained growth model is is a very powerful empirical regularity, right, among structuralist traditions, among alternative theories of growth and distribution. So I was wondering, from your point of view, from your perspective, from this research, is there a connection between the development of cryptocurrencies and the development of this, I mean, digital finance, right? Stable coins, tokenization, central bank digital currencies. Is there a connection between this side of financial innovation within digital finance and the external constraint? Does that make sense? And the balance of payments constraint as a constraint for growth processes in countries like Brazil, Mexico, or Peru. Your thoughts on that? Thank you.
Don't know if can you hear me?
Yes, we can absolutely hear you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Marvio, for your question. And I think that your question opens a door for much profound reflection, because in this specific paper, we are working much more in a post-Keynesian field, on discussions on monetary and financial aspects of the capitalism. But of course that Marcos and myself, we have this strong foot on the structuralist perspective. So I think that I'm sorry for the dog.
You're good.
Because so we always try to somehow merge both perspectives, and in the discussion of financial aspects, to bring the contribution for the post-Keynesian debate, and in the implications for the development of this kind of huge transformations in the financial dimension to development. We are much more comfortable thinking in a structuralist perspective. No, so I think that in the paper we made a brief discussion on hierarchy of money, that this kind of discussion of money hierarchy is the kind of discussion that the professors from Unicamp and but mainly from Unicamp, that in Brazil, but they are in constant dialogue with the international political economy school of thought, to discuss these movements of international financial actors and capital flow, and the implications to the structure, to the periphery structure, limitation, conditionalities to pursue economic development strategy. So in this specific paper, we are not working that much in this line, but in a part of the paper, we start to name the difficulties, to what is going to be with the hierarchy of money if we think the digitalization is fear, because some in a part of the paper we discuss some main cross-border CBDCs projects. So we are talking about the circulation of the CBDCs beyond national borders. So once again, we have the possibility to think about hierarchy of money by now considering the digital money issued by central banks. So we are going to replicate or see again the same asymmetrical structure that we have seen in the analog world, in analog circulation of international money, and now considering these advances in the digital aspect of money. So So I think this is very interesting. One project is the multiple CBDC bridge, M Bridge, that is with the Bs, Thailand, Hong Kong, China, and United Arab Emirates. And there is another paper in the same volume of the International Journal of Political Economy, written by Bruno Di Conti and co-authors, thinking about these implications of uh, asymmetry, currency asymmetries in international circulation of money. In this way, that is in the way of hierarchy of money discussion that I think is a very well a very well way of of is a very good solution to your question to how to think about the balance of payment constraints, considering this other level of international finance, and considering as well digitalization of these circuits. No,
I
so
see.
I think that the paper by Bruno De Conti and collaborators is a good way in thinking in a proper answer to your question.
I see.
I
I
don't know
see.
if Marcus would like to jump in and help me with this.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, about your question, Marwil, thank you. Yes, as I mentioned in the lecture, the cryptocurrency will stop the seek of worthy of wealth about the agents who only is expecting the the achieved of speculations, profits. So in the year 2114, the issuances of bitcoins will stop. Yes.
Mhm.
So this mechanism of creation of cryptocurrency is a genius mechanism, and the other hand is a mechanism of probably uh, money laundering and other dirty things that happens in our crazy world. But in the meanwhile, this uh, mechanism of creation of private currency, private money, will has take place with different moments at the as I mentioned, the halvings that occur that happen in different moments along this time since 2008. For example, in the last halving happened on 2024, when the value of bitcoins, the reward, better said, achieved the value of 3.12 bitcoins per unit, was the last few moments that the persons that the power computing of the equipments, computer equipments, uh, could give a reward more or less uh, decent reward. Since then, since 20 and 24, the rewards is shrinking. Yes, is shrinking, and the computer powering is decreasing. More better said, is rising. So the consumption of electricity, of energy is increasing. Then the farm boats, not persons like us, common people, could access to the mining of blockchains by the access to the wealth. This is reserved to big shots, to farm boats, uh, thousands of racks, computers of great powering electricity, computer power. So this is a, a clear stop to the common people to access to this mechanism to creation to tokens. In this case, I admire the mechanism that is taking place in Brazil in these days with the digitalization of means of payment. Here in Mexico, the mechanism is increasing, progressively increasing. A proof of that is the new measurement with the government adopt in this day. You must link your identity to your cell phone. So I think, in my personal point of view, that this mechanism is the born of new digitalization of the means of payment in Mexico, because our biometric dates, our um, biometric dates could serve to the government to increasing the means of payment, and of course someday, we don't know when, we could adopt a new CBDC, Mexican peso, digital peso. We don't know when. Maybe because of the control of the Fed, of the Federal Reserve of the United States. That fact, maybe it's already very, very long in time. But in the meanwhile, we we are giving the first steps in that way.
Thank you, Marcos. Julia, how is your microphone? And maybe Professor Jesus too? No microphone? No. No, Julia, we lost you.
Well, in my case, I would like to make a comment, and I found it very interesting and very relevant. That argument that you present in your paper, I think you could stress it in research about the different implications of the cryptocurrencies and the other digital, and let's say the digital national currency, the CBDC. Because you say in your paper that there is an unclear frontier between what is the role of these assets as financial assets, as a typical financial asset, and the role that they can play as a method of payment. In my opinion, it's clear that in the case that this kind of financial assets are mainly used as a method of payment, it should be included within the category of typical money. Since any other asset that can be, say, a normal a physical money or a digital money. In this sense, probably it will have to should be regulated by monetary authorities in their economic policy or monetary policy strategy. If they can influence, if they want to use the usual or new monetary instruments in order to control and regulate the economic activity. But this is quite different in the case that we consider, we think of this kind of assets as a financial assets, as a typical financial asset that is not competing with money, but is competing with other financial assets that are in the hands of the household or any agents that can be say shares, public debt, and so on. So I think that in this sense, it's very important to know. Probably this will be a question that should be discussed in future research. Perhaps it's not a problem of being, no, it's not now, but what will in the future, the role that will be played by these cryptocurrencies? Will they be used as a typical financial assets, or will be used as a method of payment? Because obviously, as you say in your paper, the economic policy implications are quite relevant and quite different depending on the role that we think of in terms of the use of these assets. And again, my congratulations for your paper and your presentation.
You want to answer, Monica, or I?
Just a quick word on the comments made by Jesus. Thank you very much, Jesus, for your careful reading of our paper and the comments. I think that the main objective of the main aim that we had here is actually to discuss the private nature of money phenomena and the public nature of money phenomena, and trying to translate this in this digitalization transformation of the means of payments and all monetary and financial transactions, and of course that the private cryptocurrencies has this impact on credit creation, as the notes or bills of the commercial banks in an analog era has had it. So it's more or less the same. And as we have a potent and a very strong argument to regulate commercial banks, we have here again a strong argument, a strong point to regulate this kind of financial assets that emerge from cryptocurrencies and go beyond cryptocurrencies. No, as Marco was telling us, all the money laundering and Bitcoin is being using as this vehicle to all the black economy that we have in unofficial economy, as a way to say. So in cross-border flows of this money, no? So Bitcoin is a main vehicle in this kind of transaction, and this is a very strong argument to regulate it, and not only in national basis, but to make an effort to regulate it in a more coordinated way between government, or in as a recommendation of BIS Basilea as well. No, so I think that is a hot topic and should be addressed by both national monetary and regulatory authorities and international ones. No? And concerning on CBDCs, because this is a special number on CBDCs, and I have already mentioned Bruno De Conti's and collaborators paper, but I would like to mention another paper from a colleague of us, Professor Cesar Duarte from the international from the Institute of Economic Research, that where Julia, Marcos, and I come from. Then Cesar, and the paper of the Cesar Duarte, he is using a Polanyian perspective to discuss the private cryptocurrencies issuance and the CBDCs as a manner of double movement, resistance of the privatization of the digital sphere of financial assets and money. So the CBDC is the public issuance of cryptocurrencies, should be seen as a response from this extreme privatization of money, in a Hayekian way of privatization of money or denationalization of money, as was the Hayek dreams. No government in money issues, no government, and we should let the currencies to compete and see in the free market of currencies which one should be the national currency. This was the argument from Hayek, no? And the extent of the adoption of the crypto and private cryptocurrencies as bitcoins is in somehow the concretitude on a way of materialize this Hayekian dream of denationalization of money. And in this way, CBDCs should be seen as a response for the public, for the society to defend itself from this extreme attack from market perspective, no? So this double movement on CBDCs and thinking CBDCs as a man of resistance is a man of, again, the society taking power on a commodity that is in this way money, and credit. And in a Polanyian discussion, that these commodities that should not be commodities, should be public goods. So money should be a public good. The CBDC should be seen as this intent to recover money credit to the public sphere. So this is the somehow my reaction to your comments, but I completely agree with you. I think that private regulation and regulate the financial assets that are being created in this private sphere is essential. Is essential discussion in much more broader way, not only national but supranational agreements.
But then, Monica, let me, as someone, as I'm getting old, I'm becoming increasingly skeptical about regulation, and a little bit skeptical about how governments actually implement certain. When they talk about regulation, how they end up implementing this regulation. And I was wondering your thoughts, because you're working on the topic. Is it possible to disentangle? Is it possible to separate financial innovation like cryptocurrencies from a broader phenomenon that I see as kind of positive, that is the digitalization of finance? Because I mean, I have a bank account, a standard bank account with a regular bank, and I also use some of these virtual banks, and they are so much more efficient. They are so much easier to do transactions, to solve problems, and by being more efficient, they are forcing traditional institutions to update themselves to the 21st century. Because we are in the 21st century, and certain practices of traditional banks are just ridiculous. And when I'm a small person, I manage small values. But again, when we go to big players and I look at the productive sector, traditional banks and the inefficiencies they carry in their operations translate into inefficiencies in the productive sector, how the productive sector, the capacity of the productive sector to operate. And I understand the bad that comes with cryptocurrencies, but I kind of see a lot of good things coming with the digitalization of finance that translate into more efficiency to the productive sector. So how do you see this balance between the cost of more instability perhaps from the cryptocurrency side, but also the benefits that are coming with digital finance? Or you don't see perhaps the benefits of digital finance, you do see the tension of these two? Your thoughts on that? Thank you.
No, thank you, Marvin. Of course, I see the benefits from the digitalization and the, well, if you see your comment on the basis of what is behind your comment, it's a discussion between technological innovation and regulation, and how regulation could in somehow be a prejudice to this path of technological innovation. I think that to start to think about your comment, we have to separate, to make a first separation between technological innovation as in a traditional way that we see in a Schumpeterian way, and a much more connected to bring advances in science to the production line, and make this innovation and make these new forms to connect capital and work, as Schumpeter was saying. So this is a much more traditional way to think about technological innovation, and this is one hand, and on the other hand, we should think about financial innovation in the financial markets. So financial innovation in financial markets are not, of course, it has its a positive bias on making much more efficient certain transactions to companies and households. Of course, it is has this impact, but as Minsky has or has taught in a Minskian way of thinking this financial innovation or technological innovation bringing in the financial field, it's much more problematic, because we are seeing the roots of financial instability, or future financial instability. So we have an argument, a strong argument here to regulate. And of course, the regulation should be seen as not something to suffocate innovations in financial field. But and I think that governments are being much governments all around the world are being really concerned about this topic. And what we see in the laws, in the financial laws that are being written right now, is this sandbox, the sandbox as a parenthesis, and some permissions, special permissions to this kind of financial actors and the financial products that they are bringing into the society, to have the ability to breathe and keep innovating. So sandbox, all the sandbox laws are concerning, are thinking in the way you are thinking, not to suffocate the financial innovation and technological innovation bringing into financial field, but at the same time having the concern to not be allowed or not allowed all the Minskian financial fragility structure of finance.
No, thank you. That makes absolute sense to me. Julia, Jesus, if you guys have other questions, otherwise, well, Julius is still no microphone, so yeah, no microphone. I cannot hear you. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So, no, I cannot hear you. No. Yes. Jesus, if you don't have any any further comments or maybe questions, I would like to thank again Monica and Marcos for being with us, for engaging with the group, for sharing your research with us, and I hope, and I'm glad we had a good discussion. So I hope that you will continue interacting and participating in this network. And we're concluding then our seminar here, and we will be back in July with the July edition of the Structural Development Macroeconomics Research Group seminar. And the guest has not been defined yet, but stay tuned because we will be back. So have a wonderful day, have a wonderful morning, a wonderful afternoon, a wonderful evening, and see you around. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye. Obrigado.